Welcome back to the Highway 49 podcast. We are back here in the studio. Different cast of folks today. Got my guy Matt Alquiza, Jerry Donatian. Close.
Hey, close enough, man. Hey. Close enough. Donatian.
Okay.
There you go.
For the listeners of this pod, obviously this is not Hannah and Jeremy, the usual faces, but we do got two Charlotte alums in the building today, talking all about the NBA draft. We actually just left Hornets availability, the introductions today. First, before we dive into all that, we always hit the best thing we've seen this week. Matt, I'll kick it to you first, man. What's the best thing you've seen?
Yeah, night of the NBA draft, the Hornets hosted some media members at the Capitol Grill in Uptown Charlotte. So got a really nice steak paid for by the Hornets, Gabe Plotkin, Rich Nall. Shout out to them for treating us right down here. That was a great night, getting to watch the draft with a bunch of local Charlotte media members and eating a nice meal on top of it. Hard to beat that.
You said you got home at what, 1:30?
Yeah, I got home really late.
Yeah,
real late.
But guess what? You got that free food. You got a free steak in your belly.
That's it, man.
Yeah,
drove home real full, real happy. It's great.
Fair enough, man. Jerry, how about you, man?
I'd probably just say the NBA draft in general. I think it's kind of cool to obviously see the people that we expect to go, number 1 through 5. It's dope. But I think seeing the reactions of the guys later in the draft, where their families are just bawling out or they're just trying to stop themselves from crying, it's just, I'm not even there, but I feel happy for them. All this lifelong work that they did, hard, long hours in the gym, whatever it is, I just think it's dope. So it's always good to see young people achieve their dreams. I'm getting old.
This felt like the most emotional NBA draft I can remember.
Yeah.
It's a lot of tears, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of tears, a lot of dudes that got drafted crying, showing a lot of emotion. It was cool. I mean, I as a 30-year-old man, got a kid. I like when folks are in touch with their emotions. So, yeah, man, it was cool. It was cool to see.
You know what it is, though? They're all born after 2005, 2006, man. They're a little more emotional and whatnot.
Crazy.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the thing, though. The Hornets draft class, I mean, they've got 2 young guys, 18 years old, and then they got two upper-class guys. Before we dive in, I do want to say the best thing I've seen real fast. Hiking Crowders this past weekend, man. It was nice to get back out.
Absolutely.
And go do some stuff, man. Recovering from this labrum stuff sucks, but we'll be back soon. I'll be at the Cali Park with Jerry one of these days.
Gonna come out here.
Eventually.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. But back to NBA draft. This is a different era now, right? Because you see some of the stuff with Ace Bailey. These guys they have their own money now. I mean, if you're going in the top 10, 15 of the draft, you probably did pretty well NIL-wise in college. So some of them are, it's huge tears. You saw VJ Edgecombe, his story. As much as I wanted him to be a Hornet, that was awesome to watch. And then you see some guys that are shaking their head, dropping the F-bomb when they get picked because it's dang, I don't really want to move to Canada. But at the same time, curious for both of you guys. I just want to open it up. I'll start with you, Matt. Draft overall for the Hornets. We talked a lot, praised this class. We actually got to talk to him a few minutes ago. What are your just overall thoughts with the 4 picks that Jeff Peterson made?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there was a very clear plan in this draft that you can see the through lines of what Jeff Peterson and Charles Lee were trying to do with this class, adding guys that are of high character, guys that play with physicality, guys that they can surround LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller with and accentuate their strengths. So, I really appreciate what they did. It makes a lot of sense. On my podcast, BuzzBeat, if you want to check that out, I gave them an A+ last night for the whole draft haul. It just, like I said, it just makes a lot of sense. The guys that they brought in, they're all going to make an impact in year one. Charlotte has some real holes on their roster on the perimeter. They need guys that can shoot. They need guys that can defend. They need a rim protector after trading Mark Williams. So it all makes a lot of sense. Feels like for the first time in my adult life, the Hornets are really moving in the right direction, collectively. They were tight. Had guys that were stars, but they didn't have the role players around them. Different timelines from ownership to GM to coach to players. Feels like everything is moving in the right direction. Hopefully becoming a tidal wave that takes over the NBA in a couple of years.
Yeah, I definitely piggyback off of that. I think you kind of mentioned it earlier after things kind of died down that it's definitely the right core pieces that they're putting around their 2 core players, right? LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller are pretty much running the show. Those are the guys that we're going to look at every single night for them to do all these amazing things on offense primarily. But you have the nice set of guys that are pretty much all solid defenders, maybe with the exception of possibly Khan. I got to see it. But I told this to Hunter before the press conference started, where I'm like, I didn't really know about the draft day one.
Yeah.
I felt like taking Con Knipple with the 4th pick, it's pretty high for somebody that they projected to go probably later in the lottery. But I see the offensive vision that, hey, like, this guy's a knockdown shooter, the best catch-and-shoot guy, probably the best set shooter in general in the whole draft. So I get it. You have LaMelo Ball to kind of already dictate things. Brandon Miller will be the secondary, primary ball handler. And you're going to have Con somewhere floating around. I'm excited to see what the off-ball sets look like for him, because you could possibly use them like the Warriors did at Klay Thompson, because that's the kind of, like, mold I'm trying to picture for myself for him, like the perfect role to what he should be alongside these guys. So after the draft as a whole, I wouldn't say an A+. I'm going to give it a B+. I'm going to go down a notch, because I still think that Jeff definitely played it safe. Mm-hmm. Like, Con, good player, could be a great player in the league. Definitely not the best available talent. But I get that, the Ace Bailey drama with, I don't want to play for Charlotte. I don't want to play for Utah, whatever. I get that's probably something you want to avoid, and you're also trying to think about fit rather than taking the best talent available. So I give Jeff his props. So I give it a B+ to an A-.
Definitely. I'm right between y'all at an A. Similar to you, like, I saw reports that people didn't really know what Utah was going to do with that 5th pick. It was very quiet. I think that put a little bit of pressure on Jeff, the Hornets front office, to, okay, if we want our guy, we've got to get him. Because all I kept saying, I mean, we talked about all the different trade options moving back. It seemed like Ace wanted to get to Washington, but they get their guy Con at 4. And like I said, we just came from the Lowe's Tech Hub where the Hornets did their availability. And Con said something interesting, and it's so matter of fact. It almost feels like he has this chip on his shoulder where he says, I wasn't the best guy on my team. He's got a Cooper flag.
He said it a few times, too.
Yeah, and I'm wondering just both your opinions on it. Does it feel like he's kind of, like I say, like a chip on the shoulder side of that? Like, I can prove that I am good in my own right. It doesn't necessarily matter how great Cooper was or not. Start with you.
Yeah, I didn't necessarily take it that way. I took it like he knows his role.
Yeah.
And they drafted a guy at number 4 that isn't going to come in and demand 25 shots a game. He's not going to demand the ball all the time. He's not going to pound the rock into the hardwood because he needs to get his shots up. I took it as a guy that was like kind of confident in who he is as a basketball player. Every great team you saw at the Thunder, the Pacers, the Knicks, the Wolves, the Final Four, those teams all had guys that impacted basketball without having the basketball in their hands. And I think Con is just like so self-assured in his shooting ability, his secondary playmaking ability, his finishing ability, his ability to play physically on defense, that like he knows that's who he is. He knows he's not going to be like the guy you're putting on the marquee outside of your stadium. You're not going to sell 1 million Con Knipple jerseys in year 1. And I think he's perfectly okay with that. And every great team needs a guy like that on it.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the 2 teams that just played in the NBA Finals. There was a bunch of role players that were great in their roles, like Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith. These are names that the casual NBA fans probably didn't know about until they seen certain highlight plays, right? Like the Nembhard crossover to ice the game in game 1 or 2, whatever it was. And then for Aaron Nesmith, just the putback dunk over Chet is like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And obviously he caught fire with the 3-ball and
game 1.
Yeah. So it's kind of like these guys know what they are, especially at the start of their careers, more so for Nesmith, playing in a loaded Boston place where at a Vandy he was probably like, well, I could be a solid role player and contributor on a championship team. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the case for him. He left, had a bigger role. Now he's probably going to get paid eventually for it. I agree with you, though. Con is definitely in the same ilk where I'm not going to be the guy I'm not a high flyer. I'm not the most athletic guy. Like, all those things are in that box to where he just understands how he needs to be in a role alongside, again, going back to LaMelo and Brandon. I don't need to play outside myself. Right. I don't have to pound it. You like the term pound the ball into the hardwood. I like you don't have to dribble the piss out the ball. Like, you don't have to do that. Like, in Charlotte, there's already 2 guys that can do that for you, and those guys are probably going to find you. I'm expecting LaMelo and Brandon take another step up too. Yeah. Because now that you have these shooters, there's no excuse to why they shot, I think they were 28th in three-point percentage last year. That number should definitely tick up with having Con, and we haven't touched on Liam yet, who's also another solid shooter to slide in there. But I don't take it as a chip on the shoulder, just like Matt's saying. I think it's more so I understand who I am as a player.
Yeah, it's a consistent theme with the 4 guys they drafted. Con was not the best player at Duke, was elite in his role. Liam McNeely, he had the ball a lot at UConn, but you go back to his high school team where he played in high school with Cooper Flagg, Derek Queen, Asa Newell, 3 guys drafted in the top 20. Liam wasn't the best player on that team. He learned how to impact Montverde without the ball in his hands. Sion James, played 3 years at Tulane as their star. He was the last person to commit to that Duke team, knowing that he was probably going to be the 5th option in that starting lineup with the 3 guys that got drafted in the top 10 and Tyrese Proctor. And then Ryan Kalkbrenner, his game just does not lend itself to be like a number 1 primary option, like a rim protecting, screen setting, drop coverage big. Like you have to have some sort of like humility to just play that role and be okay with it. So feels like there was a very clear intent with the guys that Jeff and Charles Lee drafted that like there are guys that don't need the ball in their hands to impact winning basketball, high character, the whole deal.
You even heard Ryan say it too, where he rather plays on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. That's what he rather focuses on. Yep. And that's the epitome of I'm going to play my role and I'm going to play it at an elite level one day. Yep. So I just appreciate that from all those guys, honestly.
Yeah, it was cracking me up. So, I mean, obviously Wednesday night being the first round, they split it into 2 rounds this year because you got to think, I mean, those guys were at home, wherever that may be, last night. And today, this morning, you're in Charlotte, North Carolina, answering a line of questions from reporters. So I thought that was awesome. I want to touch on Liam real fast. He brought like some character to that press conference. He talked about playing for Dan Hurley the season at UConn. And then you go from that to now Charles Lee. He kind of leaned over talking about a super intense coach. That was probably the funniest part. I guess for both of you, just thoughts on Liam, what he'll bring, because you make that trade for Mark. We kind of saw that coming. Maybe not draft night, but when you try a trade right at the deadline, it gets rescinded or declined with the Lakers. Obviously, they make another move with Phoenix. We talked about Matt Ishbia, the 26 other teams wanted to trade places. Jeff Peterson heard that. It's like, all right, take
Hold my beer.
Martin. Yeah, hold on one second. Take everything. Richards. Yeah. And so, yeah, curious for both of y'all, just thoughts on Liam's game and his fit, because I don't think he's going to get that starting even 6th, 7th man kind of role with this team right off the bat, but I do think he'll be a contributor, and we'll get to see some of that in Summer League.
Yeah, I hate to make the like white guy to white guy comparison, but you look at Charles Lee's last 2 stops. Sam Hauser came off the bench for Boston, played every game in their title run 2 years ago, operated as a floor spacer, going to run off screens, catch and shoot, you know, the whole deal. And then Pat Connaughton did that in Milwaukee when they won a championship a couple years before when Charles Lee was there. So I think that's the vision for Liam McNeely, is he's going to be like a floor spacer, can attack closeouts if he needs to, makes the right pass, keeps the ball moving, isn't going to be a ball stopper. So I think that's kind of like the vision for him. And yeah, you can argue if that's the archetype that you trade your starting center for. I think there's reasons to say that it's a great trade. There's reasons to say that Charlotte gave up a little bit too much in Mark to get 2 first-round picks back and use one of them on a guy like Liam McNeely. But yeah, I'm a fan of his. I think there's a lot of like context needed with his time at UConn because they didn't have a point guard. Right. He was forced into this like primary ball handling role that he was uncomfortable with. He battled through a high ankle sprain, missed 5 weeks, probably came back a little bit too early. So there's a lot of like his stuff at UConn that doesn't look great, which is probably why he slipped in the draft after being the number 10 recruit in the country last year. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things to like about Lee McNeely. I'm interested to see how Charles Lee deploys him. Is it going to be like the Sam Hauser, Pat Connaughton, like I just talked about, or are they expecting like a little bit more sort of like creation from Lee McNeely on the wing?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But to quickly touch on that Mark Williams thing, I feel like we were all in the building last year, and we kind of felt the vibe every time, especially after the trade was rescinded. Dalton Connect was in the building. Yeah. No, literally around the shoot-around. Yeah. We saw him there. So afterwards, Mark kind of navigated the situation. He handled it great, like a pro. Yeah. But it was definitely an elephant in the room that I don't want to be here if you guys don't want me here. Right. And to get Liam McNeely, 29th pick, and then also getting a 2029 first-round pick, I call that a win. To get 2 first-round picks off of Mark Williams, it's pretty good.
Especially when they got their Mark Williams replacement in the 2nd round.
Exactly.
If they didn't take Kalkbrenner with 34 and they were left with this gaping hole at center, I would have a lot more questions about the process. But that's, again, goes back to what I said. You can see the through line vision of what Jeff Peterson was trying to do in this draft class.
Yeah, and free agency is still, yet to come too. So there could be another big added. But to go back to Liam, though, I definitely like the white guy to white guy connection. That's actually it's kind of spot on, though. That could be potentially how he is used. I didn't even think about the fact that Charles Lee was in 2 championship organizations. So that could be a blueprint to follow. But I also do like the fact, even though he might have been uncomfortable with being the primary ball handler, you definitely take away a lot and to add to your game, to actually like, all right, I might not want to operate this way every single possession. He's not going to have to do that. But he's probably going to be a bench player, to start out his career. I imagine probably midway in January or something like that. Maybe gets tossed into the rotation for playing well in the G League or something. That on-ball duty would actually work dividends. It's going to pay dividends for you when you actually do get the playing time. Because you're probably not going to be on the floor with LaMelo Ball to start your career.
Right.
You're not going to have that creator. It might be Trey Mann. It might be Nick Smith Jr., whoever it is. Either way, he can play on and off the ball. Mm-hmm. So I think coming into this first year in Charlotte, the value might be as an off-ball scorer. Same thing for Khan. I mentioned Klay Thompson, which could be a comp for him. But that could be the same thing for Liam. Both guys could kind of operate the same way. Their games are pretty similar.
Yeah.
Khan just a little bit bigger in terms of body frame. So Liam, I'm expecting, sharpshooter. He did shoot 31% last year, at UConn. Not great, but again, high usage rate. He had no choice but to pound the piss out the basketball every single possession because of all the injuries and stuff too. So I'm looking forward to it. I think he's the shooter for now, though, and we kind of see how the game progresses, especially in Summer League in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, watching them walk across the stage, he's bigger than I thought Liam was.
Yeah.
And you see him, he's got these tree trunk legs that crack me up. Looking at, so James Plowright actually tweeted kind of his catch and shoot numbers, a lot of his different shots, and his catch and shoot numbers uncontested, pretty good. What I thought was weird, only 2 step back threes all season. I wonder if that's something he's going to work on. We talked about him having to create there. It was a little bit different. His role would be different. And then he actually hit 50% of his shots from 25 feet or more. I'm curious as to how that range will extend to the NBA and what that's going to bring for him. I think it's a pretty good segue though to Summer League because that's the first time we're going to get to see all these guys in purple and teal. You tweeted out could be the starting 5. I know probably have KJ Simpson in there, but I think this could be a really fun Summer League team. I mean, it felt like it had been years. I think it had been years since they had won a game ahead of last season. We found out today Charles Lee won't be the head coach for the Summer League team. Not sure who it will be yet. Who was it last season?
It's Josh Longstaff. He's Charles Lee's lead assistant.
Okay. And memories from last Summer League, I think the coolest part of this time last year, which was Charles' introduction to a lot of people, obviously to John and KJ, was the entire Hornets roster was there for this last season. It was a little different today. There was a ton of family.
All over the place.
Yeah. There were season ticket holders upstairs, so the players weren't there today. But I am curious. I thought my favorite thing of Summer League last year was seeing all the guys on the end of the bench. All the full starting 5 almost was in Vegas. I mean, talk about what the culture seems and how it's kind of the trajectory in your mind.
Yeah, well, 25% of the active roster right now has no choice but to be there because it's 4 rookies.
Facts.
4 of the 16 guys that Charlotte has signed
it's a quarter of your team
are going to be playing in Summer League, which it's pretty rare, I feel like, that a team brings in 4 rookies and plans to roster all of them and have them all available at Summer League. So
what are the Nets doing then?
Yeah, dude, the
got some conversation for another day.
The entire Summer League starting 5 in the first 25 picks. It's crazy. There's a lot could be discussed there, but we're not talking Nets right now. It's exciting, man. I think giving your fans a reason to watch you in Summer League, I think just will parlay excitement into the next season as well. Charlotte, there were 119 games, not a ton of fan support last year towards the end of the season after LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller went down. But if you get fans to watch in July, they're interested to hear what's going on in August, and training camp starts in September, and the season starts in October. You just keep the ball rolling into what is kind of becoming a pivotal season, year 2 of Charles Lee and Jeff Peterson, because they drafted these pretty NBA ready, high floor guys that you're kind of expecting at least a little bit of a jump next year. And it's been almost a decade since last time Charlotte made the playoffs. At some point there's going to be there needs to be some signs of progress in order to keep fans coming to the building, keep fans following this team. So yeah, it feels like the culture is changing. I mean, I said it, ideally this is these are the building blocks that you're going to surround your superstars with going forward. The McNeely, the Knipple, Sion James, and Ryan Kalkbrenner. So ideally, those stars are LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, and they just parlay a fun Summer League into a really exciting start to the season. But we'll see. We got a lot of time between now and then.
Yeah, for once, I'm actually putting a lot of stock into what I'm going to see in Summer League.
Yeah.
Because I know usually we see some star players come out and struggle. Brandon Miller did not have a good Summer League, Wemby even struggled in his Summer League debuts and stuff like that. So these guys aren't, again, not expected to be superstar caliber players. you're expected to be superstar caliber role players eventually, maybe like the Nimhards and Neesmiths, like we mentioned. So I'm excited to see all 4 of them play because they all kind of play different roles to some degree too. Like Sion James is gonna probably be a lockdown defender in my mind. Maybe develop a 3-ball later on down the road. Con Knipple could play on the ball, could play off the ball, like he said, but he knows he wasn't the best player on his team. So how's your role gonna look when you are gonna be the primary ball handler potentially in summer league, where the ball's gonna be in your hand, but you also have to know I can create for others still. Like that's why you got drafted at number 4. Liam McNeely, kind of the same type of thing. I'm just really expecting guns a-blazing from the 3-ball. Like, I want to see you shoot at a high clip. Yep. Ryan Cockburner is kind of the same thing. Like, I want to see an outside touch develop because I know he didn't take a whole lot of them, but the touch is there, especially around the basket. Like, it's silky smooth. You have an offensive game that could be refined in the NBA. And that's all kind of on Charles Lee to kind of figure it out. But in terms of culture, it's definitely building up. Like, they're talking about, the guys showed up to our workouts and were talking to us then. And they weren't even officially Hornets yet.
That's cool.
Yeah, like for LaMelo Ball, who everybody kind of thinks, this dude he's a superstar diva or whatever. Like he probably doesn't care about his teammates. He's showing up and he showed that to us. I know for me over the years, like I've seen him like interact with his teammates. He might not care for the media too much, but all his teammates and stuff, trust me, like he's tight with them. He talks to everybody. He loves them, it looks like. So text in people, FaceTime them once they get drafted. Like that's a good sign. Because guess what? All you guys are 25 and under.
Right.
So they should be cool. This probably should feel a lot like an AAU experience, if we're being honest, since they're all that close in age. Mm-hmm. Like Kalkbrenner and Sion are probably close to the same age as LaMelo, if not older, potentially. Yeah. So
I didn't even think about it like that. You're right.
Yeah, like the team is super young. Yep. Your veteran is technically like Miles Bridges.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird. So we'll see what happens in free agency. But for right now, the young guy just kind of gelling and meshing is going to be the most important part. And since you have a quarter of your team competing in summer league, we're going to see how things go.
Yeah. One other thought really fast. So this draft, we talked about how they address needs, right? You can see a tangible path for every one of these guys to play. I think it was the first draft that Jeff did that. You look at last year, I think of Tajon. What did the team need last year? They needed a 4 who could shoot, step out, and defend.
Project player.
Yeah, take that role of guarding Giannis, take that role of guarding Tatum, because it has been Miles Bridges for the past couple seasons. You saw with Tajon, I think the blueprint was there. We'll see this year he's going to play in Summer League. It'll be good to see how his game has matured. But then when I think about the second-round pick in KJ being kind of that backup guard that fell behind originally the Nick Smith Jr., the Trey Mann, obviously the Melo is going to demand the ball. I didn't think that made a ton of sense, even though I love KJ's game this year. So I say all that to say I love the trajectory they're going this year. And what do you guys want to see from Tajon in Summer League, man? What is that next tangible step for him that makes his sophomore year a success in your mind?
I mean, I talked about it with Matt earlier. Like, these 6'10 guys are the prototypical builds for what you probably want your franchise player to look like, especially at the wing. Trey Murphy in New Orleans, who I love, and he can shoot the 3-ball, and he has an all-around game that's kind of forming up, right? That's the ideal thing because you can guard possibly 1 through 5, especially in a league where small ball is a thing.
Yeah.
So for Tajon, it's definitely he shot the 3-ball a lot. Didn't love it all the time. Like we had our moments up in the media seats. Like, I don't know what this guy's doing. To just speak candidly about it. But I'm really hoping to see like the ball handling kind of come around because in transition he looked like a deer in headlights and he was just trying to get the ball up too soon. You have to have some type of playmaking bone in your body as well. So make the reads. If you see somebody cutting, try to give it to them. Give the ball up earlier instead of dribbling it down court. And now you're looking for help. Like, again, the deer in headlights kind of looking. Then it's a boneheaded turnover.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot that I want to see Tajon grow. And, again, Summer League, again, I'm putting so much stock into this.
Yeah.
Because a lot of their team that's possibly going to be contributing in January is going to be playing in Summer League. So definitely playmaking aspect. A little bit more ball handling and smarter shots. Because I don't want to see you take 35-footers.
He was chucking at times.
Yeah, man. Like, no,
he was making some of them. But
you're making some at 30% clip. I don't love it.
Yeah, I just need to see Tajon look more comfortable. I mean, that's what it is. There are so many clips of him like dribbling the ball in transition that were just when Tajon took the ball in transition, like you could see his brain buffering in real time, like trying to figure out how to cope with the like speed of the NBA, trying to figure out what to do with the ball in his hands. Ideally, the game looks slower for him in Summer League. It's a different setting than like a Tuesday night in Staples Center when you're playing the Lakers. Like Summer League can kind of feel like a pickup run. So it's not really like a place where a guy like Tijon, who is still so new to the game of basketball, can thrive.
True.
Because it's just like so like sporadic, like more random basketball. So to see him like thrive in that setting, like making quick decisions, kind of just like going with the flow of not really having like a set offense, just want to see him look more comfortable, really, like at the end of the day, because he looked very uncomfortable. And of course, like he's the second youngest player in the league. It's the first time leaving like the country that he grew up in for most of his life. Like, of course, it's going to be like a big learning curve for Tijon. Now he's had a year. He's been in Charles Lee's system since last June when he got drafted. He's been in the United States working out. We've seen the videos of him with Charles and Jeff in the gym. It's like I just need to see some sort of tangible progress, whether that is, like you said, playmaking, playing with more strength. He's a big guy. Like I want to see him like grab rebounds over somebody.
Yeah, it's kind of like shot selection too, right? Like since he is that big and he has that size, like a lot of times Charles did have him in at the 4, but he did throw him in at the 3 at times.
Yeah.
When him and Miles actually played side by side. So knowing how to use your body in general, because he's 6'10", like 230, 240.
Yeah, he's a giant, man.
Big
He's
dude,
a huge
yeah.
guy. So yeah, just comfort. Like that's like the main thing I think of with Tijon. It's like just get more comfortable playing basketball at this level, and it's going to take time. But if I could just see like a 10% growth from last season, he's still 19 years old. 10% growth at 19 is a huge deal because then you get stack 10% on top of that, and then another 20, and then he's a completely different basketball player in year 3, year 4 when he's like ready to sign that second contract with the Hornets. They're starting to compete. You'll know if Tijon is a guy that's going to be there when the team is winning or not. Well, I just want to see steps towards that at starting this summer.
Yeah, and that was part of their, like, I guess, explanation for taking him was it fits the timeline, right? You think about B. Mills' development. You think about LaMelo going into that second contract, signing the max. Tijon, they knew it would take some time. You mentioned project players, so you're right. 10%, I agree, if he can take that step. And I don't know that it will be super clear in Summer League based off what you're saying.
Yeah.
But as long as it comes around in October, November, December, you start to see the player he is becoming. I think it makes sense.
Because obviously, you gel with the better players that are around. Your game's going to be better if you're playing with better talent, right? LaMelo's not walking through those doors in Vegas, so you definitely are going to have to rely on some of those guys for your offense, and a lot of them are rookies. A lot of them are second-year players along with KJ since he'll be there. So definitely, like you said, October, November, once the season kicks off, I need to see that 10% in real time.
Yeah.
Because that's when the pressure really starts for me.
Honestly, the most important person to this Summer League roster is KJ Simpson, just being like the veteran floor general, played 3 years in college, has a year of NBA basketball under his belt. Like, I need to see him just like keep everybody on the court settled. Like, can he find Tijon on his spots? Can he find Lee McNeely in his spots? So really, like, if there's a developing chemistry between KJ and Tijon, I think that bodes well for Tijon's ability to play at the higher levels, come the regular season.
Randomly enough, I remember Josh Giddey being that guy for Chet Holmgren in the Summer League, where Josh Giddey was the elder statesman, played a year already, but still kind of figuring out his game. Chet comes in rookie season before, the whole LeBron freight train foot thing messed up his season. But definitely Josh Giddey was the guy that centered everybody.
Right.
So hopefully KJ could play that role for Tijon and the rest of the guys. That would be dope.
And their connection's kind of always been there because they were in the situation last year, right? They both go through something very similar to what we saw the 4 guys today. And Tijon was also dealing with the language barrier. So I remember even being at the Knights game when they're throwing open-end pitches and people are asking Tijon questions and he can't fathom, I guess, what the question meaning was. And KJ stepping in and helping him out. Like, I do think there's a tangible, chemistry there. I think we'll see that on the court for sure. Last question for you guys, Matt and Jerry. So last year was kind of the first year we all spent a ton of time together covering Hornets. Got the nut medley. We always joke about that. But curious just for both of you, your favorite moments from last season covering the team. Start with you.
Yeah, my favorite memory covering the team, I think it's just and there was a couple of these, any game that was tight in the fourth quarter, which I say there were many. There really weren't that many. But, it's funny. We would,
felt like there were more at times.
We would cut up the first 3 quarters, and, it's Hornets basketball. We're watching Damian Ball, shoot 30-footers. What are we really doing here? But then somehow Charles Lee would have those guys fighting in the fourth quarter. And at some point there would be, a unspoken collective, all right, let's lock in. And, actually start watching the game and, talking hoops. What's actually going on the court. Instead of the talking legacy, who's the best starting 5 of the 2010s while we're watching Elfrid Payton turn the ball over. It's there's just, I don't know, I feel like we all had a mutual understanding of when the game got tight, we started to lock in and our discussions would go from life hoops in general, whatever, to
Hornets basketball.
Hornets basketball. Right, yeah. And I'm looking forward to, as the team gets more competitive, like 48 minutes of strictly like Hornets basketball talk instead of the whatever we were talking about leading up to like the close moments of games.
Nah, I can definitely co-sign that. But for the sake of being different, honestly, I'm gonna give a shout out to Miles Bridges, man. Yeah. I think after his whole situation kind of went down and how that all implored, and then he signs a deal to kind of re-up. Just the fact that he's taken on the toughest perimeter assignment, especially because a lot of times it's the Jason Tatums that's walking through the doors, the Jaylen Browns, or people of that size and stature. And he's 6'6", 6'7", going toe-to-toe with guys like Giannis. That is the primary defender for everybody. I just remember each press conference, like win, lose, or draw, every time we talk to him, it's, I like to take that challenge upon myself because I know I'm the most capable, able-bodied guy. So, I love those kind of guys that, they just put their hard hat on and they just go to work. And that's what it looks like we kind of got, I'm hoping, from this new nucleus of guys that were just picked up. But I just tip my hat to Miles Bridges, man. A guy that plays against the toughest guys every single night. And since LaMelo and Brandon were out in a lot of spurts throughout the last season, who's taking 20 to 25 shots and guarding the best player? It's Miles Bridges night in and night out. So there's an argument to be made that he was probably the most important player for the Hornets over the last 2 to 3 seasons. Because he's been the most available, obviously outside of the whole shenanigans, whatever. But I tip my hat to Miles Bridges, man. I think any superstar matchup, that's probably my favorite moment because he's taken upon the challenge.
Yeah. For me, when I think about Miles, he's the first one to come in there and be like, yeah, I got my ass whooped tonight. Yep. He would take that on the chin. I thought he would probably win the media award for the team. They gave it to Mark Williams. I don't know if that maybe
political.
We talk about that another time. But yeah, for me, I go back to early in the season. I actually can't remember the opponent. It might have been Detroit, actually. And Brandon Miller and LaMelo both caught fire. I think both had 35-plus point games.
Yeah.
We were talking to Brandon after the game about NBA Jam shirt. How long has it been since the Hornets that have had a duo like that? My brain is Kemba and Al Jefferson is really the last time. And you watch, just kind of watching that unfold and seeing – I wish we could have gotten a full season of Brandon Miller. Yeah, I think this year three for him is going to be a ton of fun. But, yeah, that matchup that night, I think it goes to OT. Brandon Miller hits a deep three in OT, and the Hornets win. So it's definitely my best moment. Like I say, for the pod listener, different crowd of folks today. You guys have been on the show before, but do me a favor real fast. Tell them where they can find you, and then you. Yeah,
for sure. Jared Dozier on Twitter, man. Hopefully have that in the caption. That might be a little hard to spell.
Gotcha.
But anywhere on Clutch Points as well, man. YouTube, TikTok, IG. Everything's there for the video content as well, and Hornets articles from me and all that. So anything Clutch Points, but Jared Dozier on Twitter for sure.
Yep. Alquiza8 on Twitter. Again, hopefully in the show notes. I'm glad that I'm here to pronounce my last name the right way because Jeremy pronounced it wrong for months. So happy to really get here in the studio and let you guys know how to say it. So yeah, Alquiza8 on Twitter. All my Hornets stuff can be found. Hornets on SI. That's where all my writing is. And then I co-host the Buzzbeat podcast.
Yeah, I still fucked your last name up so much. Appreciate y'all taking the time to come to the studio. Looking forward to having you back.
Absolutely.
So happy to do it.
Yes, sir. Until next time.